This special meeting of the Board of Directors, okay. And the, first order of business, but I'll just, everybody wanna introduce themselves? Hello? You wanna just introduce yourself?
I'm Ursula.
Heidi Jacob.
I'm Zach Stevens.
Heidi Jacob.
Joni Wolf. Melissa McKitty.
Andrew.
Mark Cockrell.
Roger Garrett.
Did you sign it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Van Wood.
I'm not studying. Are you
I know
taking
you
the
don't
fifth?
do that,
I'm
no.
taking, yes ma'am.
Okay, all right, and, this is Will Sims.
Yeah, Will Sims.
Sam Robertson, your accountant, not the one that's on the TV show.
Okay, and first order of business is gonna be to the appointment of new board members. Sheila Wood, you're gonna be member large.
Can you explain to them why Roberta can appoint board members?
Yes, according to the bylaws and the covenants that I've read, the remaining board members appoint the vacancies. We have obviously a rash in this situation of people that all went out at the same time, and so she is in essence the only remaining, board member on the board of directors, which means she's it. So what I recommended to her after reading is she needs to establish, since she's it, some other board members establish a full board, at least 3 to 5, so you have an odd number. So what she's looking to do today is to use that power that's granted her through the bylaws and the covenants to appoint a full board, and she's gonna do that now. And that is her right to do it. There is no other, obligations or rules or requirements she has to follow, but name the persons and they accept that, appointment to the board, and then it'll fall in line with how the board would normally react with multiple members on board of directors, so.
Thank you, Will. Okay, so appointing Scott McKinney, Gail Sherwood, Freddie Cagle, Sheila Wood, and of course myself, and, the board of directors, I'm Roberta Vanoski, for anybody that doesn't know me. I've been on the board less than a year. We're gonna have some growing pains, but I'm gonna familiarize everybody tonight with the issues that we're working on, and, so that's why it's going to be just a special meeting of the board of directors, or we'll be here all night. And so, and then just have to familiarize everybody with all of the issues and who wants to take on what. So if you just bear with us, starting next month, any issues or problems that you have, I just want you to know, we're not adversaries, we're your neighbors. And somebody has to do this to keep our property values up. I think that's what we all want. I think that's everybody's goal. I hope that's everybody's goal. We're not here to harass anybody or intimidate anybody or anything like that. We're here because, we care about Hidden Oaks. And obviously you do too, or you wouldn't be here. So all I ask is that you give us a chance. There will be some growing pains, but our intentions are good. Okay, there's no hidden agenda. I promise everybody that. Okay? I don't really, quite honestly, I've been here since 2006, I don't even know anybody to have an agenda with, I pretty much keep to myself, I say hi to my neighbors, and honestly, so, and we've all talked about it, and, we just agreed that we just want a board that has good morale, and that we communicate, so there are no misunderstandings, no bad feelings, we just wanna get things done for the neighborhood, and, I understand that there are a lot of issues, which I didn't know about until all of this happened, that, things that you have problems with, and some of them we've actually been working on, it's just going really slowly. But if there is anything we don't know, we need to know, not the neighbors. I mean, your neighbors can know too, but let us know, okay? So that's all we ask, is just, a little bit of patience with us and just give us a chance, okay? So, okay, as far as the secretary goes, we're gonna need somebody who's gonna take minutes on a
No,
No,
I'm
you
doing
don't
it
have to do
tonight.
that. Gail, can you do that?
I'm not good at that.
I don't either, so.
Yeah. Well, I guess that leaves me, okay? And again, you know, like I told them, you know, I'm not the leader of this, you know, I just want everybody, you know, to all have the same say, you know, and, I'm not any kind of power trip here, I promise you, I did not ask for this. And, so, yeah, nobody has to be afraid to speak up or anything like that they're gonna, you know, offend another board member, as long as, we just, you know, keep communications open, so, you know, so I'll be
Can I
secretary.
interject just one
Sure.
thing? If you're not secretary, one of you is gonna be president and one of you's gonna be treasurer. So think about
You're just
that,
doing director.
because the board of directors have to fill those positions.
Yes.
Cause it says in your bylaws that, you know, those boards said, y'all off the hook for those positions who are sitting out there in the peanut gallery. But, so just FYI, to follow your own bylaws. So
Okay, then some,
writing notes sometimes is not the worst position, and getting letters out. So,
I will do.
and you may wanna talk about what the duties are of each one, so people know kind of what they're getting into,
right,
with the commitment on that.
So I can be secretary, Gail, if you'll be my backup. Like if I'm not here.
Oh, yeah, sure, I'll take notes.
alright.
Okay.
I don't like
I
doing
love you,
that.
Okay, we need a treasurer who's also gonna be a signatory, we have two people sign the checks, okay?
I
And,
can do that.
You can do that, alright, so we'll have to go over to the bank and do that, okay. Yeah, we'll do that.
You're laughing.
Excuse me, unfortunately, you really need three, because if one's out of town, then you still have to have two.
Yeah,
So,
and then something doesn't get paid.
For
on
signatory?
time.
Yes, you'll do it, thank you. Okay. And Scott, okay. So we'll just have to go to the bank together, okay? And, we're gonna need somebody to do the weekly neighborhood drive-through. Again, this isn't to, you know, measure the height of people's mailboxes and harass them. This is, to make sure that, like on a Monday, is typically when it's done. So if somebody's, because you're not supposed to leave your trash can out more than 24 hours after, so it's to make sure trash cans aren't left out and there's no debris in anybody's yard or cars on the
Somebody
blocks,
do
all
the
that kind of
drive-through.
stuff. So
Weekly.
just
Yeah,
reasonable
of the
things.
neighborhood.
You know, again, we're really not gonna harass people, we just wanna keep our property, values up. So, who wants to do the drive-through? You'll-
Oh,
You should take turns.
I almost stepped up too quick.
Oh, well, let's see what's left for you.
Hey Freddie,
already done that.
I'll be your backup if you need somebody to.
That's what
Okay, so, everyone read the agenda and, make sure that everything works.
okay. So you said the signatories, but who's gonna be treasurer?
That was next, actually, right,
You have to have a designated treasurer.
okay, treasurer, Scott, you wanna be treasurer, you don't have to deal with the money, that's Sam. It's just reading the treasurer's report, it's an email to you.
I don't even understand the treasurer's report, so I would not
It's
be.
the
able to do it.
easiest job. It really is the
I would not be
easiest.
able to do it.
You'll do the treasurer, okay. You'll be treasurer.
Hmm.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm not a balance sheet person.
Then president. She's still gotta be.
Yeah, Roberta's the
Yeah.
president,
Hmm?
she's the president then?
It's probably next one with the president.
President.
That'd be
Well,
it.
that's a good question, I, quite honestly, if, does anybody want the president position?
What's it entail?
It's me.
What's it entail?
What do you ask?
Yeah, I guess you're the person to ask. What's that
Would you like me to
entail?
read what it is, what it says it should entail?
Probably not, but go ahead.
It's not that lengthy, but, the president shall be the chief executive officer of the association, and shall preside at all meetings of the members and directors, so you will preside over future meetings as the voters do now. The immediate supervision of the affairs of the association shall be vested in the president. It shall be the president's duty to attend to the business of the association and maintain strict supervision over all its affairs and interests. The president shall keep the board of directors fully advised about the affairs and conditions of the association, and shall manage and operate the business of the association pursuant to and in accordance with such policies as may be prescribed from time to time by the board of directors. The president shall refrain from voting on all board matter with exception of breaking tie vote or in an election.
Okay, so I'm gonna vote.
Do they interact with the attorneys and stuff like that?
Yes.
Yeah. And the liens and.
It can be a board of director, but normally it's the executive officer that
Yeah.
coordinates
Yeah,
with the.
that's,
Okay. All right, well then, it'll be me for now.
okay.
Okay.
Perfect. That sounds perfect.
To you.
Don't you wanna do anything?
I'm phase 3.
Okay.
That's my happy
Right,
position.
you're phase 3. Okay, all right, so now, did everybody review the minutes?
So did we pick the president?
I would,
Roberta.
Yeah, okay,
Roberta,
yes,
I would also like to add that for anybody who wants a point of contact, I'm the creator and owner of the Facebook group. So,
that's not the official Facebook, Hidden group, page though.
no, it's not the official page.
Right.
It's a neighborhood Facebook group. But I think almost everybody in here is a member of
I'm not, I don't do
that
Facebook for
group.
anybody.
Well, those who do.
Well, okay, here's the thing.
Those who
We have a, Hidden Oaks page that's been there forever. I just got access to it as far as editing and adding things, and I mean, just like 2 days ago. So, or 3 days ago, whenever, I don't really.
Mr. Bird.
Right.
I already put a notice on.
Right, but pages and groups are different.
Point of
As
parliamentary
your point of order,
Yes.
since you said I was parliamentary earlier, point of order,
Yes.
you are supposed to keep to your agenda. And, that talking about the Facebook page would take you off your agenda.
Okay, thank you.
And you need to focus on the rules in which your bylaws go by to follow the agenda.
Thank
So,
you for the reminder.
I don't mean to, because that's how you can chase a
Right.
rabbit.
I
And
will be here all night. right?
exactly, so if you go by your point of order.
We'll discuss that another time. Okay. Treasurer's report.
I know.
No,
Oh, we have to accept the minutes. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion's recommended.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Minutes, I'm sorry, agenda, the agenda.
The agenda.
There were no minutes, there was no meeting in November, so we do not have the, minutes to review, okay? And so the treasurer's report,
Okay, as your accountant, I've got your financials here. I'll give you a treasurer's report. Since you don't have an active treasurer, now that you do have an active treasurer, I'll present this to the treasurer. It's normally the process. Do you wish me to do so?
sure.
Good. All right. At this time, this is your accounts receivable. This is not something you would give, I'll just go through this since everybody's new. You do not give this out, the accounts receivable, not accounts receivable, the accounts receivable. This is basically the homeowners who have not paid their dues yet, and it has names, addresses on it. So you don't give this out to just anybody, all right? Because you don't want to disclose who's paid and who's not paid, all right? I will give that to the president. All right, this is your financials. This is your balance sheet and your profit and loss. Are y'all gonna share?
We can share, if we don't have enough.
Yeah, I got it.
No problem.
Okay. I'll give you my set as soon as I finish, if that's okay. All right, as it stands right now, your balance you'll notice your assets listed. You have a CD with $51,456.98.
Could you do those numbers slowly for me?
It's right
Yes,
here.
ma'am. Actually, it'll be on this report. You'll have all those numbers right through here. And the key numbers is what I will highlight and
Okay,
that you would add to your minutes to your page, okay? Key numbers are, you have a CD with $51,456.98. You have a small private, what they call a primary share account, has $5 in it. Basically, that's to hold the CD. As it stands right now, just to give you a heads up, it is in the association's name, because I'm gonna dispel the things that were brought up that I was able to, people kept calling and asking me, so if that's okay. It is in the association's name, it is held at Keesler Federal Bank, it is accessible by only 2 signatures. They have to be board members and they have to have a copy of the minutes to release funds, all right? You also have a Regions Bank account that has $63,641.67 in it. That is required to write any check at all, to pay any bill, requires 2 signatures of 2 board members. And that gives you a total in checking and savings, $115,103.65 in total cash that you have. Current receivable that is due right now is $1,820.31. That's the information you would put in the minutes for the and on the balance sheet. You'll see that your total assets though, because you actually do own some assets like a playground slide, fencing, retention pond fencing, single gates, a storage shed, a toddler lot sidewalks, it looks like is on depreciation. Your total assets are $129,788. So that's really what the association owns. So, overall. All right, liabilities, your liabilities versus your equities balance it at the $129,788. So it's a plus and a minus. In accounting, you have credits and debits. So if there's a credit, there has to be a debit to offset it. So because of that, this balance sheet is balanced, all right? You have your copy and you can have that one now. So, okay, on your reconciliation of your accounts, the Regions Bank, you began in November 1st with $64,768. This does not actually have to go in the minutes, all right, but is a part of what normally I would do is attach the financials to the minutes,
okay.
all right? And then you have uncleared transactions of $827, cleared transactions of $971, registered balance was $63,641, ending balance $63,612, all right? The reconciliation of your PayPal account, you had $228 that came in, $228 went back into the regular checking account, zeroing out that reconciliation, and there's no balance in the PayPal account. Because some people do pay their dues with PayPal, all right? Let's see, and then your profit and loss is the last page. If you look at that, this is the November expenditures, and this is the January through November expenditures, of which you have spent so far. Basically, the total amount of dues that came in this year so far is $51,819. Total income from other assets and everything is a total of $53,825. You have spent so far, total ordinary income was 18 for the month of November, so total income and net assets at 18,797. So bottom line is your profit and loss total expenditures are listed in this, and I don't have a problem if the board doesn't have a problem. Anyone that wants a copy of this is more than welcome to come by my office and see it. If that's okay with y'all, 'cause that was pretty much the agreement last time, so, you can have this, and, I think that some of our homeowners association post them on their pages, but that's up to y'all. I don't know that I want everybody to know how much money I had out there, so, there's pluses and minuses to full disclosure. So if you put this on a web page, that means somebody knows you have this much money. You don't put it on a web page, people don't think, well, where's all my money? So come here and see. So that's the way I look at it. So, so bottom line is you're basically at $115,000 in total assets of cash. And, that's pretty much your treasury report overall. If you have any questions of me, I am here to help, and you can have this copy. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
So, I have a question, can I ask it now, or is it?
Of me?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
So, it's registered as a nonprofit, can you explain to us what that means? Like,
Sure,
what are
love
we
to.
allowed to have in the bank and why, and, or,
Okay.
roughly?
Mississippi has some really cool laws. I'm gonna,
You go ahead,
If
you're
I-
very excited by it.
yeah. Okay, so if I
I'll
start.
let you run with it, buddy.
Okay, if I get over there and it stops, he's a lawyer, so he might go get most of this, I don't know, but
You look like you're ready for the test.
I am, I'm ready for this, because this is what I like. Mississippi has some cool laws. Basically, Mississippi's nonprofits are allowed to invest in what they call secured items, such as CDs, such as accounts that are bond related. So if you hold a bond of AAA, you could invest it there. They do not do so then, but some nonprofits which handle what is known as an Internal Revenue Code 501c3 status, which is a nonprofit organization, has certain rights. It's nothing more than, say, the Rockefeller Foundation. They're a nonprofit. They can hold assets of millions and millions of dollars. It's okay, but they must invest it a certain way. This board took the most conservative approach and used a CD, because from times past, it was discussed that they were gonna save up some money and do something, and they were gonna work on doing something. I'm not sure what it was, but I heard everything from basketball courts, tennis courts, to swimming pool, to pavilion center. So I don't know, because that's not my responsibility, that's the board's responsibility. Mine's supposed to make certain that every bill gets paid, all right, and make certain that the monies are deposited correctly. All right, so the answer to your question, they do hold a 501c3 status. There is a 990 tax return that's completed every year. That depreciation schedule I was telling you about on that return, or on the P&L, goes on that return, decreasing the value of the assets on the return. So assets need to be added to bring brings the overall return back up. Bottom line is, as long as you don't have payroll involved in a nonprofit, you have probably one of the easiest 990 returns to complete. They're not easy because you actually bring in revenue, but it's not the postcard return. It's actually probably about a 50-page document, but you have to separate how much money goes here and how much money goes here, and what money came in and where did it come from. So I could sit and talk about the tax return all day, but bottom line is it's fun, isn't it? Yeah.
So we fall asleep.
Yeah.
Stick to the agenda.
So can you, stick to the agenda. Bottom line is, you are 501c3, you are in good status, you are filed with the Secretary of State's office, you're filed with the IRS, your 990 is processed, it's due every March 15th, you're in good shape.
And they can have assets like the,
Oh, yeah.
like the CD.
They can have
And
CD.
then to take the CD money and do something with it, then that all involves their two signature thing and all
Yeah,
that
no,
stuff, right?
actually,
So-
the two signatures, technically and legally, Regions Bank, State of Mississippi rules, 501c3 rules only require one signature on a check to process. The two signatures is my rule. Because if two board members, and I don't care which association we do, and we actually do several of them, it does not matter which association, we require two, because that means two board members are looking at it.
Yeah.
So, so
And
if
if
one's
something
in,
goes wrong, they're held
Yeah.
accountable.
I learned a long time ago, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So, you don't make, people are human and they make mistakes, but we try our best not to let anything like that happen. That's why I require two signatures for any check that comes out of my office.
And that money can be spent on anything that has to do with the with the neighborhood, basically. Right?
Are you referring, I don't know who you are, but I'm gonna say this. There was one of the feeds I read that came through, somebody said that we, had dispersed funds for some property
Right.
somewhere. Okay, it can't do that.
Yeah.
It's not legal, number one. Number two, it would have required two signatures. It's just not even a possibility. Because I would have brought it to someone's attention or
Right.
reported it. Somebody said they were gonna contact the Secretary of State's office. Well, it's not the Secretary of State's office you'd contact, it'd be the state auditor's office you'd contact, So I read y'all's feed because somebody had mentioned my name, just be candid. They mentioned my name, then went off in private messaging and they didn't know that somebody they were talking to was my friend, probably not a good mistake to make. But the bottom line is, we're here to help you. We want to make certain that your accounting is accurate and productive. You have a lot of money. It's probably time for you to do something with it, but, you know,
Okay.
does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes,
You-
me? Yes.
Would you mind reading off the assets again? I didn't hear them all.
Here, right? Let me borrow that.
Yeah, just let him look.
Yeah, sure, copy.
Balance sheet is what I'm looking for.
I got one. That's good.
Oh, everybody wants to.
Everybody wants a balance sheet. So, let me tell you, the document you actually really wanna see is the balance sheet, because that's where your money's at. All right, not where you spend it, but how much you save. So, your assets are, these are, depreciated items, furniture, equipment, 2 playground slides, and right now that is depreciated down, and your asset is really about $1,200. Entrance fencing, $2,400, equipment, shed fence, $834, playground equipment, $7,600, single gate that's $800, a storage shed that's $1,800, a tot lot sidewalk, apparently some sidewalks got put in and the association paid for that. There are some things on the return that's not here that are required for us to enter. I don't think the retention pond, the fence is an asset, but the pond itself is not, because if it's holding water, it's technically state-owned land, if I understand correct?
Depends on the water and how deep and where it
Okay,
is.
so,
The land itself is owned by the homeowner.
okay, well, I don't know, I don't even pretend to be
But I
into that.
I just want to get clear in my mind,
I can't hear it.
retention pond fence is owned by the HOA.
It's on the asset list and on the tax return.
Okay, I just want to hear that.
Okay, yeah, it's on the tax return. So that was actually something that came up.
Cause I was made out of the approval at the last meeting about that, but that's fine.
Yeah, I wasn't here for that, so.
I understand. I'm
Okay,
glad to hear it.
or I
I'm
would've,
glad to hear it.
I'd have cleared it up, so,
That way y'all have to fix it.
okay, not me, I just write
I
the
mean,
checks and
HOA.
somebody else signs it.
I'm saying
Okay,
HOA.
I'm not really good with him, so, any other questions
Thank
for
you.
the accountant? All right.
Thank
Sit
you.
down
Thank
then.
you.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Dan.
much. Okay, old business, so this is what I need to review. First of all, this will be of interest to everybody. The meeting time has been changed now to 7 o'clock, which is what a lot of people said that it was hard to get here at 6. So I did check, and, we got permission to hold the meeting here at 7 rather than 6. So I hope that, we'll see more of you on a regular basis for any of your concerns, and that makes it easier.
It will be publicized,
Yes.
I'm gonna put it on the website now.
the website, or will it be Facebook,
The
or will it
website.
be Messenger, or what?
The Hidden
What's
Oaks-
the official way?
The Hidden Oaks website is hiddenoakshoa.org. Okay, and like I said, I just got access to that. The only thing that's been on there so far is, about the meeting, but, it will be on there. Okay, everything will be on
Is
there.
that the new website that
No,
Earl set
no,
up?
this is the original website.
The old one?
You're not gonna use the new one?
I couldn't get onto it. This one's just fine. I just didn't see the reason, so this one has been around and it's fine. So we're just gonna.
Do y'all have signage for the 2 entrances?
Yes, and that was another thing.
Most HOAs, they have their
Yes, we-
signs that says meeting tonight or meeting
We
tomorrow.
do, but I didn't have access to it. I just got the keys.
Did you have them now?
They're in the shed, but I know where they are. So, but that's why I was not able to put them up,
For future meetings, y'all should be able to do that, so
Yes.
there'll be additional notice if you're driving
Yes.
through 1 or 2.
Right, yeah, there's signage that goes up at the entrances of the neighborhood, that tells you that there's a meeting, it'll be up that week. So, now that I have access to the signs, I can do that.
We'll need new signs.
Yeah.
There are 2 websites.
You know what?
There are 2 websites.
There's one that's not up there, there's the original one that I just decided to keep. It's just
And
hidden,
then
hidden
those
out,
HOA, there's not much, I mean, I went on to something and.
It was wiped clean when everybody resigned, I don't know who did it, okay? That's what I'm saying, I just need time,
We're gonna have to rebuild
Okay.
it.
yes,
Right.
I'm working on
Yeah.
everything basically,
Yeah.
as one person, and so, you know,
We're ready to move on?
yes, all right, where are we? All right, I need to, excuse me, we need to talk about, the landscaping. I think that Sheila and I will stay on this. Is that okay with you, with the landscaping? Let me tell you where we are with this. We've been trying for I don't know how many months to get a landscaper to take care of the beds at the entrances, all of the, shrubbery and everything in front of the fence line and that small area back in the cul-de-sac. And either they come and don't give us written estimates. We finally got one written estimate and it was exorbitant. So I have a meeting next week with another landscaper. And I know, you know, I heard the complaints about it in the property owner, but we know it and we've been on it for a very long time. And it's just hard to find anybody who'll put anything in writing that's licensed and they have to be licensed and insured. And again, if any of you have any suggestions, if you know somebody, we'll meet with them too, we'll meet with
I know,
them.
I'll give you a name.
Okay, good. So, but we have been trying to do this for a very, very long time, and I want you all to know that, we are not being neglectful of it. Okay, and that's where, you know, some, you know, good companies money do that. Yeah.
One point, if you need to give information to the board, you need to go on our website and it has a link that says contact us. And that's how you officially send a message to the board.
If it's up and working right now, I have to check. So, but I think it is, okay. So, all right, then undeveloped lots, to my knowledge, from what I saw in my notes, there's 3 lots, I believe they're all being developed at this time. Does anybody know?
The townhouses?
No, there were 3 undeveloped lots.
On lot.
Lots on, the last minutes from October 13th, now I was not at this meeting, I was sick, unfortunately.
It's very hard to hear you back there.
Okay,
Yeah.
the lots on Martin Lane, they're slowly getting built, and the 11 lots for the townhomes
14.
on Laurel Oaks are in process. So that's what I have as far as.
Roberta?
Yes,
They're
14.
they're starting to really work on the 3 houses on Lawton Lane.
thank you.
On Realtor, they're already pending.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they've
they're
all,
already
they're all.
sold.
All 3 are pending.
So they're starting to work on this.
Right, so that's now not an issue anymore.
So we have 14 townhouse lots on Laurel Oaks. And those, as far as we know, when they're developed, they will all be rentals.
Okay, now, the cameras at the entrances, this, now Freddie, maybe you offer to take control of this? Okay, here's the problem with the cameras, they were done years ago, they required a monitor, and there were no videos apparently, and somebody just would have to be watching it to see if anybody committed some kind of crime, which is like, makes no sense. About 6 months ago, I went in and spoke to Best Buy, you know, to the Geek Squad, to see what we could do as far as setting up a video camera system. And they told me, because we don't have a gatehouse or anything to put any kind of wireless equipment, any kind of modem or anything else, that there was really nothing they can do unless a neighbor in the front agreed to let us piggyback off their Wi-Fi, and I don't know who's gonna do that.
Excuse me, Roberta, but we can save time because we're under a lease with those cameras and I don't think it's
I
completed.
don't believe so, I don't believe, Sam, do you know if there's
So
any
we have an
bill,
expense for
any bill for the video cameras? I don't
You
believe
do,
so.
they were discussing whether to line item it or put it under, a line item or categorize it in one of the expense, items that are already there.
Is there an ongoing bill for it?
There is a reoccurring bill that reports, because I think there's a video, upload to it, if I remember correctly. I don't get into what it does and what it doesn't do, but I do believe there's a recurring bill on it.
Right,
Every,
well, I'm gonna have to
I
find.
think it's
some-
every quarter, if memory serves.
That's interesting, cause,
But I can report back to
So-
you that January.
right, yeah, I need to find out who it's through.
Well, we have the information, but, with the cameras, we have the entrance and the exit. And if something happens, say somebody breaks into your car or something, you can go back and review the
Right.
footage.
I think it's web driven,
It doesn't,
yeah.
So,
doesn't cover the whole neighborhood though, right?
Yeah, and just, we can see license, you can see license plates.
So
Yeah,
can we like find out how long this lease is for, how long we're obligated, and maybe,
Yeah, we can pull the contract.
Yeah, I really think it needs.
and modernize, come up to date, you know?
Just FYI, every document is scanned. If we receive a document in, a bill or anything, they're scanned in, put into our secure file pro system, and we literally have everything that is a piece of paper on file electronically.
Thank you.
You've actually had a couple of members that came to my office and verified that, so, you know,
Okay.
so, yeah. We've been as cooperative as possible to anyone that shows up, and we'll continue to do so.
Yes.
So you're saying the cameras keep the recordings of what
To my
happened?
knowledge, there were no recordings, there was just a monitor that somebody who was.
The
over there-
monitors
It was like
in
a
the shed.
Okay, but
CCTV.
there was
like-
no recordings from it.
So
You see it
it-
happen, but
it-
if you're not there when it happens, you're not seeing it.
Right.
So it doesn't keep
It
anything?
doesn't cover,
No.
that's the whole thing, it doesn't cover a lot of areas.
We
Right.
went through that when the facing was vandalized, when I hired ServPro to fix because nobody was watching the feed at the time, there was nothing to give the
Right, that's
police
the
to
whole thing, you would
identify.
have to, somebody would have
Right.
physically.
So that's like a waste of money.
Absolutely it
It's
is.
like,
If
pointless.
anybody here has any suggestions or has any kind of experience with this or any ideas,
and it has to be somebody near the gate
no.
for the Wi-Fi?
Well, the thing
Because
is
you
that-
can use my Wi-Fi.
has to put Wi-Fi equipment in, so, cause I
Right.
guess you're gonna do an
It's
app.
gotta be weatherproof.
Yeah, I figured you could do an app, but you can't because.
So anyway, the camera records, or it does record, and so say your car is broken into tonight, okay? You call the police, then the police notifies us, and we can pull that footage for that night. If you
So it
do
does
it,
record.
So it does record?
It
But
does.
it
It
doesn't,
does record?
No,
there's someone is supposed to have the monitor.
it's in the
Okay.
shed now.
Okay, so because nobody was willing to monitor it.
We should.
But you only have to have someone in charge of it that can show the police the footage.
And how long does it record?
I don't know. But the company that we got the cameras from, they would, be able to, I don't know, we should have papers on it and all, but I don't know where that might be.
Well, yeah, maybe it's in your.
But we can investigate this and present it at the next meeting.
But Sheila, that just covers who comes in and out, right? I mean,
Right.
it doesn't cover the whole neighborhood. It
Right, but
just
say one of
comes
your
through.
neighbors has cameras and you have a time when somebody broke into your vehicle. And then we have the camera showing who went
Right.
into the neighborhood.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, it doesn't
And then you 2
physically
minutes later, right.
Do everybody's
Yeah.
house. Okay.
So-
I will say that early on foot.
But if you walk in, like, that road that the city of Gulfport owns, that they blocked off from the other subdivision on Lawton, on that dead end road, cul-de-sac,
Turtle Creek.
Turtle Creek.
they've had juveniles walk in just wearing all black, and they be checking doorknobs.
Right, and
It's not gonna catch down.
You can't catch them, but you know where they live at, they live across the street over there,
Willow Oak Circle.
you know, well, they live across from, Three Rivers Road.
Which is in Harrison County, so Gulfport can't do anything about it. That's Harrison County police, not Gulfport.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's what we were
Turtle,
told.
like where Turtle Creek is or across the
No,
street?
not Turtle Creek, the other side.
Okay.
Crown Heights.
Oh, very nice. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay. All right, so the newsletter, Linda had been doing a newsletter, what was it, quarterly? You were doing it?
I got 2 of them done, yeah.
Yeah, so if anybody is interested in continuing that, what I liked about it was, we're just trying to let everybody know, who we are, what each of us was doing. And if anybody would wanna submit anything to the newsletter as far as, I clean houses, or I'm a realtor or something like that, and would want, their information in there. We put that kind of stuff in, or happy birthday to someone or whatever, so, is anybody interested in technology? Or one of the neighbors, if somebody would like to do the newsletter?
Well, when you were doing it?
Yes,
I read a couple of them, I thought they were very nice.
Yeah, they were, so.
There was a
You're
lot
not
of work.
interested in doing it anymore?
No, it was a lot of work.
A lot.
A lot.
Really?
Well,
Yes, it was.
like 60 hours we
Oh,
worked on it in a week.
Oh, yeah.
Much
that is a
work
lot of
and postage
Well,
and folding.
yeah,
and time consuming.
We can just.
It was.
Well, just trying to get all the facts.
Yeah,
Well, it was a lot
I'm
of
glad
work.
you enjoyed it.
That's a lot of work.
well, maybe we can just add things to the website, another page on the website with some information.
On the website, there is already a column, a link that's information.
Okay, so we can
There-
just.
there's
put it all
a-
on
there's a
there.
link there.
Go to the website. Okay, all right. so the newsletter.
So there'll be no more newsletter.
No, it was nice, but maybe in the future, but
Vernon,
sure.
can I ask a question?
Sure.
I don't know if you guys
I have
want
one
to talk
answer.
about it. I didn't see it on here. Any news thoughts? It's basically for Sam about the audit being done.
Actually, I'll give you a report on that.
Okay.
Regarding your newsletter,
Yeah.
early on, when we first took over the account in 2014, 15, somewhere in there, we actually mailed out your newsletter for you. We had support staff that could do that at that time. We have just now hired on enough people now that we could take that back up if you wanted to, but that's something for y'all to decide.
Okay, we
Um,
got to get all the facts from you
yeah.
and see,
And may I address the audit,
sure,
board? Is that okay?
absolutely.
Okay, so, here's the thing with your audit. I think your bylaws require you to do an audit. It's very repetitive, and in our industry, it has changed substantially in cost. 10 years ago, you could get what they call a compilation review for about $5,000 or $6,000 on an association this size. A fraud audit would have cost back then about $20,000. Today, that same compilation, to get someone to touch it, will not touch it unless it's around 10 to 15. I've called several of my CPA friends, and no one wants to do it because everybody is shorthanded. Everybody seems, but what makes an audit different is called a peer review. So if a person does an audit, like if my firm did an audit like it did the first time that we came up and recovered the $60,000, when that audit was done, yes, it was relatively inexpensive. It was about $5,000 to actually complete it, and it was peer reviewed. Peer reviewed means that I do the audit, and one of my peers from an outside source comes in and reviews the audit. Well, that is a true compilation or reviewed audit, all right? The difficulty we have now is there's not many people wanting to do peer reviews anymore. The larger firms don't wanna do, and believe it or not, they think that $15,000 is chump change. So, to them, it's, an association is not a big deal anymore. So what I would probably do, if I was looking into the future, I would get a compilation done. I would change the number of years to probably every time you change treasurers, or, 4 years, 5 years, or 10 years down the road, you do need audits, don't get me wrong. You need to review, because you never know when somebody's gonna be signing double checks and there's a check out there somewhere. So I would say definitely do it, but it's going to be pricey, and you have $117,000, $115,000 in that neighborhood right now. Taking $20,000 out of it, or $17,000 of it, is like, takes it right like that. You really need to weigh your balance on this, on how often you actually get it done. Cause candidly, let's see, we took over 14, 15, it's taking you all these years to get to this point where you actually got enough money to do something now. So, I'm all for.
When was the
I don't
last audit?
remember when I
2015,
read
I think.
the bylaws or covenants, but I think
When?
it said they needed to be an audit every 5 years
I
or
don't
something?
remember, I know that they needed one, they had never had one until we did one, and a guy named Frank White, who's passed on before it was, so him and a couple of others got the organization reorganized and got away from the property manager that, and I'm not gonna name names or anything, cause I don't want to go off base here, but recovered, and I'll just put that, way, recovered $60,000, alright, that was not in any account. So when the audit happened, requested the money, next day a check showed up. So, good thing. So when they got organized, that was a good thing. Every so often, you do need to do this, but to be honest, it's just downright expensive to get it done now. Nobody wants to do it because there's no employees, and, you know, nobody wants to do peer review anymore because there's so much liability.
It's really hard to get anything done, landscaping, gardens, I mean, cameras, it's
Yeah.
just so
Right.
hard.
So can it cause legal problems for us,
You know,
since it's been so long?
Your board can decide anything in a vote. I understand this correctly, a board speaks through its minutes, correct? Okay, so since it speaks through its minutes, if they say, we're gonna do a compilation instead of an audit, that brings that price down. All right, if they say, instead of every 5 years, we're gonna do it every 7 years, that brings the length of time that it happens. If you say it doesn't have to be a peer review audit, but the way I understand what your bylaws have written, it has to be a peer reviewed audit, because it says audit, which is a different terminology than compilation. There's degrees now, about 5 years ago, they changed what those degrees of things were. You have fraud audit, you have, structured audit, you have, a peer review audit, a compilation audit, a compilation review, an accountant's review. You can change it to an accountant's review and get an outside source other than us, because we're actually doing the book work, an outside source to do and come in and look and do just a accountant's review. Couple $1,000 and you're done with that. So, and if they found something, then you could go further. So it's really, once this is all settled, I would be more than happy to go through that process with you again, like we did in September or August, whenever it was, and discuss it.
Right, the bottom line is, we're gonna do something.
Well, I know, my thing is for the board and for the neighborhood, just so we know that where we feel like we're standing is
Okay.
where we really stand.
Exactly,
You
yeah.
know?
Here's a cool thing, if you come by my office, we can actually, now, we're closed on Fridays, we do 4-day work weeks. If you come by my office on Monday through Thursday from 9 to 7 p.m. Yeah, yeah, so, did you just hear 7 p.m.?
I just woke up.
Yeah, yeah, so, if you come by my office at that time, you will find me there at 7 p.m. We will actually pull up the actual, online, the check register for regions. We don't have access to what they call online access to the Keystone Federal CD, but we get the statements, and I can show you the last quarterly statement. So you can actually see what's there.
Yeah.
So I don't have any
Yeah,
problem
that-
whatsoever with that.
Yeah,
So,
and I
but,
understand.
yeah, we've recovered and been very
Yeah.
prudent with your money, good stewards, how I like to.
And you're the accountant, right?
Actually, Jeannie Sanders is the accountant on staff, she works for me. She's your staff accountant.
He's the lawyer, right? What does the law say about the accountant, or the?
As long as you take reasonable measures as a board to, one, make sure that you are properly documenting through your treasurer and then through your accounting firm that you're using, the funds that are coming in, that you're seeing to. That's all that you need to cover, as far as the board of directors, your obligation. And so the reasonable measures are things such as, you can have leeway, like, he was talking about, that you don't have to do it every year, full-blown, very expensive audit process. You could do it every so many years, as long as you have some kind of meeting with the accountant to go over P&Ls. And that's what these meetings do throughout the year, it's part of your reasonable measures.
Right.
So
And
you
we
have
do that
multiple
quarterly.
opportunities each year for the members, for board of directors to catch things, come and bring those issues up and deal with them. So there's transparency, that's part of, and that's what you're required to do under the state. And because, you know, you're dealing with, you know, a nonprofit situation versus a profit corporation situation, you're limited on money. Even though you have a pool of money sitting there, it could evaporate very quickly, and y'all don't just, you know, it doesn't come on trees. You have to pay dues, it has to be cycled through, so I'm sure y'all have big months where some people pay, hey, we got a little money, and then you have some months where it's kind of like a valley. And so, you know, you have to weather that, and costs come up, cameras, you get installed, and things could hit you all at once. So as long as a board, you're reasonably taking those measures to protect the assets that all members are paying into with their dues, then, you know, you're doing your job. And then the second part of that nobody likes to talk about is the collections. If you don't pay your dues, you know, the dues are paid as part of keeping this neighborhood up. Being able to have the resources to have these meetings, to put a camera system in, keep up with what's out there as far as playground, all of those things, they're necessary. And if some people are paying, some people aren't, it's unfair to the ones that are paying, and the ones who aren't paying, you know, so that's when collections come in, and somebody eventually will come, and that person would be me, to, you know, after they've gone through, followed all the procedures, and trying to collect, give everybody an opportunity. At some point, you know, I get the call, and I go, if I'll get a judgment and then collect. You don't wanna be in that situation, so there's plenty of opportunities to do that. So that's the second part of, you know, as a board, you have a duty not only to take the reasonable measures to count money, but also to facilitate continuing to get the money to come in, because that's also part of your obligation.
Okay, I have a question. So the bylaws say that we have to have a peer-reviewed audit.
It
And
says,
we
it defines
can-
audit, okay, but by legal terms today of what an audit is,